not eating.
Is it recording?
Yes, it. Uh-oh.
Hey y'all, and welcome to our second episode of Comfortable Foods, Uncomfortable Conversations with me. I'm Cayla.
And I'm Carlos Wise.
And our topic today is going to be all about assumptions. And yeah, so what are we eating today?
Oh, we eating ribs, cabbage, and Velveeta mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh.
That's what.
You ain't say homemade ribs, homemade cabbage, but you said Velveeta mac and cheese. Anyways, these ribs is homemade ribs. They was made in the oven. I made them myself, and the cabbage is also homemade as well. And yeah, so let me cut these. Let's go.
I can eat now?
Yeah, you can eat.
All right.
I'm gonna cut right here.
We're going to eat this whole thing.
The whole rack of ribs?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
That's not the plan?
Mm-mm. And so, here's a rib. Let me show. Ooh, this is my first time cutting it. So, what y'all see for the first time is what I'm seeing for the first time. And that's what it looks like. It's nice and thick and juicy and tender. You want to eat it off your plate?
No, you can leave it there.
Should I cut it off? Or cut some pieces? Okay, that's good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So yeah, like last time, we're going to eat a little bit and then we'll get into our topic. Yeah. How was your day? It's tender, but it's not fall off the bone. That's what I like. What do you think?
I like it.
You love it?
Do you love it?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
What would make you love it? It's ribs.
You know how like Mission Barbecue got all the sauces you can just try?
Oh, so you want to...
Just like...
Says the person
Who?
who told me to keep putting barbecue sauce on it. Right?
No, but I want some hot sauce though.
Okay.
The fat was good though. You cut just enough off.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck this. I mean...
I'm going to get your hot sauce. Hold on.
Huh?
I'm going to get your hot sauce. So, speaking of assumptions, I got a book. There's a book that I wanted to reference. There's a book that I wanted to reference and a definition that I wanted to reference. All about assumptions. So we can basically talk about why... What's your opinion on assumptions? What do you think about assumptions? Do you think they're helpful?
No.
Why?
But it's something that I'm accustomed to doing. And it's something that I have a hard time breaking the habit of not doing too. Like,
Right. Like a lot of people. A lot of people assume on a daily basis. And so, the definition that I felt like, well, it's the definition, but it's perfect for why it's not helpful. So assumption is a thing that is accepted as true or as certain to happen without proof.
Mm-hmm.
So every single day, like a lot of people, us, me, you, everybody, we always assuming that something's going to happen. And in this book, it says, whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. That's a good point, and we can get into that later. But first, it says, don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. And this book is called The 4 Agreements, and don't make assumptions is one of the 4 agreements. That's basically a key to like living your life, living your best life. So assumptions is basically like not communicating clearly. It's like ineffective communication, because when you assume something, it's your own, to your own knowledge, to your own believing. Like, it's like what you believe without any proof, without any communication with someone else. It's like you just believe what you believe, and that can cause a lot of sadness, confusion, and drama in like so many different situations. Like, it doesn't even matter what the situation
So
is.
I always assume the worst out of whatever situation it is, so I can be mentally prepared for it. So if I already think something bad is going to happen, when it does happen, like, I don't have to necessarily be scared of it, or like I can always know how to, already feel like I know how to deal with the situation. But it's always gotten me in trouble.
Right, and the outcome, and a lot of people do that. Like, how many of y'all have assumed the worst? How many of y'all still do assume the worst? It's like, okay, well, somebody call you and like you hear this tone in their voice and your heart instantly drop, or like that's an assumption of what they're gonna say, and then you get yourself all worked up about something, and it's like they say something completely different, and so now it caused all this confusion and drama, even though it was just within yourself. But that's just one example. But all that can be avoided by just this person saying something to you on the phone, and you ask them why they sounded like this, or you ask them, because when you ask someone, then you're going to get your actual reason versus assuming, and now you're making your own assumption of what this person is talking about, or why this person felt this way, this, that, and the third. And that happens a lot in relationships too. Like, I feel like
for me, it's just trying to figure out, like, if we have an issue, like how you're going to respond to something. It's like assuming that you may take this negative. So it's like, do I really want to deal with you taking the negative, and just not me wanting to deal with that. I just said that. But like not wanting to face that issue if that issue were to come up, or if that issue were to be taken negatively.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, like, us having a conversation about it won't even be taken in a negative light.
Right. And then, so to piggyback off of that, so like, if you assume that someone's going to react in a certain way, or you assume that I'm going to react in a certain way, and I don't, or you already have made this assumption, and then later on we have a conversation about it, and I tell you that I would have reacted differently. A lot of people make assumptions based on it's their own beliefs, but it's also sometimes based on like a pattern of behavior. So if you are used to me reacting to something in a certain way, then you could just go and assume that, okay, well, she's going to react to this way. But that's still an assumption. That's still not clear communication. That still can cause confusion, sadness, and drama, because I may not have reacted that way, or whatever the situation may be. Like, it could go left, right, up, or down. Like, it really can go in any direction. But I feel like a lot of people assume when they don't want to communicate. Like, kind of like what you were saying. So, like, a lot of people assume instead of addressing a situation. So it's like, instead of actually, which is, like he said, you're looking for problems when you assume. So it's like you feel like you straying away from a problem. Like, okay, well, she gonna react like this, so I'm gonna just not say this. But if you think about it in a different sense, like, what if I just bring this to this person? How will they react? And like, sometimes it's like it's not you, but just people in general, like, the pride is too high. You think that you know someone better than they know themselves.
Right.
It's like, how are you going to tell someone how they will respond? So it's like a lot of people don't want to face an issue or face a reaction from somebody, so they assume how somebody's going to respond. But in reality, that can cause like a whole lot more bullshit, to be honest. I don't know how to say it, but yeah. I feel like.
So what's the fix? Like,
Go ahead.
if I'm an assumer, I'm always assuming that something's gonna happen. I'm always
Like
assuming
most
that
people.
the worst is gonna happen from a conversation. Like, how do I change my basically my outlook on life? Actually, 'cause
Your mindset when it comes to assumption.
this is a life choice for me to be always assuming at this point. It's not,
Right. It's something that you're so used to doing. That's the thing. A lot of people are used to doing a lot of things, and that's why we speak about it, and you let them know about it so that we can learn and grow through it. So like the fix for that, everything comes down to communication. I feel like everything comes back down to the word, the things you say, the things that come out of your mouth.
Right.
So instead of speaking these things, instead of assuming, just communicate. So it's a petty assumption. I don't know. What's an example? What's an example of like an assumption?
For me, in the relationship,
Yeah.
this assuming that you're gonna get mad for me, or like me just having or doing something.
Okay. So communication would be the fix. Like I literally feel like, so it's a fear thing as well. So you assume
Right.
because you just don't know. You just don't know. You think you know. That's where the assumption comes from. The assumption comes from you forming your own factual opinion. It's like, okay, well, but if you just go to a person and then you ask them what it is, because your assumption is based on what you think. So if you ask them about what it is that you're already thinking, instead of coming to your own opinion, because your opinion could make you mad. Your assumption could be like, she's going to react negatively, so that makes you feel negative, and it's just like, oh well, I'm not trying to deal with that.
Right, exactly.
So but in reality, it's like you don't know how this person will respond until you actually ask them. And if you end up being correct, then maybe your intuition was right. But assumptions, we did have that conversation, but assumptions cause a lot of like drama. Assumptions cause a lot of sadness. Assumptions cause a lot of bad communication. I feel like when you assume a lot, then you don't have good communication. Like communication is just not, it's just not all the way there if you are the type of person to assume a lot, because you should be able to ask somebody what it is that's actually going on. Like what's actually going on.
It's bad though. Like, I always assume that I'm gonna have a bad day. Like, oh, I'm always looking for things to make my day bad. So I wake up like, oh, today's gonna be bad. Like even assuming like when it rains, like, oh shit, today's gonna be a bad day because it's raining. But
Are you talking about in general, or are you talking about yourself?
in general.
In general. Right. So that's another thing about assumptions. So assumptions can literally ruin your day. So take it to the like waking up like, oh, I know today's gonna be a bad day. It's like the things that you say to yourself, for one, is literally all about the word, the language, the way that you communicate. And communication is not just with somebody else, it's the way that you speak to yourself. And an assumption, you can be having a conversation with somebody and making a whole lot of assumptions about somebody else, but a lot of times when we assume stuff, we're talking to ourselves because we don't want to communicate with somebody else. So it's like, and we subconsciously assume. So it's just like literally like, oh, I'm just not going to text her because she ain't going to respond. Or I'm just not going to text him because he not going. Like we do this so subconsciously that we got to catch it when we do it. And so like when you catch it, you got to tell yourself that you're making an assumption right now. Is this really true that this will happen because I'm saying it's going to happen? Like you don't know what somebody else is thinking, somebody else is going through. Like, you don't know. So, and you won't know unless you communicate. So as long as you communicate, then I feel like that's the way to really get yourself out of that. Like that's the way you really move through that situation.
Be ready to face whatever the issue is.
Yeah.
Like if it's going to be good or bad, just be ready for it.
Right. And like you said, if you end up being right, then I mean, now you still changed the way that you think.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I communicated, I was right. This happened the way I thought it was going to happen. And sometimes, like we had the conversation before, there's a difference between intuition and assumption. Like sometimes when you have the signs.
That was the other word you used.
Right. A pattern of behavior.
Right.
And patterns of behavior, like I said, I say this all the time. People can decide that they want to change. Does it literally happen overnight? No. But people can wake up and decide that they want to be better people. That's the thing. So just because a person has been acting like this, it is natural for you to read that person and go based on their pattern of behavior and assume that they're just going to respond in a certain way. But what if they don't? What if they don't respond that way that time and you really are shocked and you're just like, oh, well, I assumed that they were going to. But that's why you shouldn't assume. It does matter. Like, people can change if they want to change. No, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's like it's still possible for somebody to, just like now, we're speaking about assumptions. So now, tomorrow, you may not be assuming as much as you used to.
Right.
Like, tomorrow, it's like, I didn't know this yesterday, but today I know. And so I'm going to make this small change. And so you can't assume that I'm not trying to change, because I am actually trying to change. You not eating no more?
You gotta eat that.
Eat what?
I ate this half. You gotta eat that half.
I'm trying to finish this one. But yeah. Like the ribs?
I do.
Why are you smiling like that?
You gotta eat that half.
I'm not eating all that.
You got a lot. I'll finish this.
Open up to assumptions. Read a line from the book.
My hands are a little barbecue sauced up. So it says we create a lot of emotional poison just by making assumptions and taking it personally, because usually we start gossiping about our assumptions. That's true. Even
That
if
is
it's with
very true.
ourselves, because I'm talking to myself about what's going to happen.
And then you mad at somebody, you don't like somebody, all because of something that you made up in your own head. I love
Right.
that. Assumptions lead to gossip. So a lot of the times, let's see. So like, I've done this before. We sitting in the parking lot. Don't do that. You outside and you see like a couple or whatever, and you just assume they happy. So say that you're not in a happy relationship. So let's just be general here. So say you're not in a happy relationship, and then you see this couple. You literally look at a couple and they walking together. Today they holding hands. Yesterday they might not even been holding. We're not gonna talk about that. But like today they holding hands. They look happy, and so now you form this assumption. The assumption is positive. The assumption is the fact that this couple is happy, but this still forms negative reactions in your mind because you're not in a happy relationship. And so now you see this man and this woman walking, and you in the car with your bum boyfriend or your bum girlfriend or whatever, and it's just like and
Why
so
I gotta be a bum?
just because that's the point of like what I'm trying to say. And so you get what I'm saying, right? So couple, and you just like, you look at this couple. Did we pray? Oh my gosh, hold on, this is insane. God, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know.
Amen.
That's we prayed. So yes, like I was saying, so you look at this couple, you see them happy, you're in the car with your bum boyfriend, bum girlfriend, and now you're mad because you assume that this couple is happy. You see how small it is and how subconscious it is, because a lot of the times we won't even speak on this with our partner or whatever. We just, in our head, we just looking at them, and you know that you got a bum boyfriend, bum girlfriend, so you just looking at them, and you're looking at them because you think that they're happy. And so now you just mad at the world, you mad at your boyfriend for no reason, or your girlfriend, you have an attitude with them, and they like, what the heck just happened, because we were just sitting here, and all because you formed an assumption of a group of people or two people who may not even be happy. Is it a fact or not a fact that they're happy or not? No, because an assumption is without proof. You don't know. It's something that you formulate in your own mind. So if you just look at this couple and you think they happy, like, it's very possible that today they may be having a good day, and like they might not be a happy couple. If you actually go talk to them, they may have a whole boatload of problems that they've been going through. Like, you never know. But making assumptions ultimately it causes gossip, but it hurts you also in the end if it's something like that. But it also hurts other people, because when you make assumptions and you're wrong about an assumption, you react negatively to other people. So like if you're making an assumption within yourself, that negative reaction is back on you. But if you if you make an assumption to someone else and someone else tell you that's not what it is, now they're like, what the heck, where you get that from? And so now you put your negative emotional poison on them, and then you also put it on yourself because you believe your own assumption. The thing about assumption is that it's something that you believe. Like it's something that you formulate in your own mind that you believe to be true. So it's like most times when people make assumptions, you can't tell them that they're wrong because they make an assumption because they already feel like they know what's right. It's not like they asking a question, they ended up being wrong. It's like, no, it's something that they already formed in their mind is correct or incorrect. Like whatever they assume to be is what is to them. So you can't really change that. So whenever you're corrected or whenever you're correcting an assumption, the reaction usually is negative because who wants to be told that they're wrong? So it's just, and that's ultimately what it is. It's like when you have when that assumption is actually spoken on, it's like, girl, like, no, you completely off. Like, this is not, well, oh, how you going to tell me? I'm telling you because it has to do with me and this is what it is. But this person don't want to hear it because they already assumed what it is going to be to them. Like an assumption is like a factual opinion. I don't even know where that came from, but that's what it is. It's like a fact to that person, but it's really not true because it has no proof behind it. Yeah.
That's social media, though.
When why is it that?
Because everybody
I never can finish my food.
Put this facade up, so you just assume that somebody has money. Mm-hmm. Somebody can take a picture of them kissing today, and you assume that they're happy. So
social media is a good example. Oh my gosh, creating this fantasy life, and so all these people assume that you're happy until one day, like.
Damn, I didn't know that was going on, but
yeah, I was trying to think of the girl's name, but like the one who won Miss USA or something like that, and like she killed herself.
That committed suicide. Yeah, and everybody thought she was happy.
Yeah, because you look on her social media and it's like, and it's not to say that she was lying about her life because maybe when she took those pictures, maybe she felt good. This is an assumption. I don't know, but it's like, who knows what's actually going on? And we assume that we know a lot of stuff just based on what we see instead of actually communicating. Now, if you can't reach, like a lot of people can't actually reach Miss USA. So, but we still have the wherewithal to be like, I don't know what's going on in her life. Like I follow her on social media and yeah, she's smiling all the time, but I'm still not going to assume that she's the happiest person in the world. And a lot of people were saying like, oh my gosh, she looks so happy and I can't believe she would do this or this, that, and third. And it's like, why? Like why? What made you believe that she was so happy aside from a picture? It was the assumption. It was you looking at her life and believing what you saw. And that's an assumption. It's like a lot of things happen on social media. A lot of people can create a front, and a lot of people do that. They create a life that they want other people to believe that they're living, and then a lot of people hop on it and then they just start believing what they see. They start assuming that these people have money, that these people are happy, that these people are in loving relationships, and some people feed into those assumptions by lying about it. So a lot of people, that's a conversation for another time, but a lot of people will just fall into the social media facade and just like, okay, yep, I'm living this life. I got this kind of money, that kind of money. Because they know that's what people are going to think. They know people are going to assume. So they put out their best so people can assume the best. They don't like to show the negative because they don't want to be real. They don't want to be faced with those kind of things. And it's just like, oh, well, I'd rather everybody think that I got it all and I'm good.
Right.
And that's all that is, a thought. Because people will swear up and down that they know a celebrity. They'll swear up and down that they know this person's life. And I'm like, oh, how you know them? Oh, I follow her on social media. Oh. So you think you know her. You think you know this person. In reality, it's just an assumption. It's all just a big assumption.
Okay, you know.
But yeah. Assumptions cause a lot of sadness, stress, miscommunication. Assumption is just a lack of communication.
Situations that unnecessary situations too. Mm-hmm. I thought that if I told you, you were going to react this way. Well, I didn't react that way, so
What does that say about your assumption?
you should have just told me.
Right. If we communicate effectively to begin with, assumptions wouldn't even be a thing. If we could master the way we speak to ourselves and the way we speak to other people, assumptions wouldn't even be a thing. Like if we could take other people into consideration and not be so selfish and think everything is about us, then assumptions wouldn't really be a thing. Like we would actually give some consideration that other people can act in a way that is not what we think. Like it's
that they can actually, or we can actually talk it out.
right. I got food in my
the
face.
mental capacity to talk it out.
Right. And now you can't tell. Like a lot of people are stuck in their ways. A lot of people just think they know. A lot of people think they know. Like keyword think. Like a lot of people think they know. And it's sad because I'm telling y'all so y'all can know that like, yeah, if you were assuming all day yesterday, tomorrow you don't have to be like that. Or tomorrow you can, what can you do tomorrow? Tomorrow you can actually acknowledge when you're assuming and you're like, oh, I just made an assumption. Like, hold on. Let me check myself. Is it valid? Like, am I? And it doesn't matter if it's valid or not. Like, if it's an assumption.
Is there a way to separate what's real and what's not? So, like, if I assume something, it's like, oh no, I'm crazy.
And what you mean?
I don't know. I had a thought.
I feel like I know what you're trying to say.
Like, yo. I don't know, but like...
It's like you really feel like somebody's...
Like that type of assumption or assuming is like when you wake up every day, you assume that the day is going to go by the wrong way. It's like... It has to be like some form of depression.
Heck yeah, right?
Because it just can't be... You just can't always assume the worst. Like, you have to be optimistic at some point. Not try to be optimistic, but...
Why you sick? Are you talking about yourself?
I'm not, but I just related it to me.
You did, and you keep doing it.
But like I just have this feeling, like what I just said about rain. Like, oh snap, it's gonna be a bad day because it rained. It's raining today, so it's like it gives you this dreary emotion, and like you want to sleep or whatever it is that may be happening. But whatever you're going through, and somebody else is having the best day of their life.
That's exactly why assumptions have everything to do with communication. And communication is not just talking to somebody else, it's how you communicate with yourself. Right. If you wake up and you telling yourself that you're going to have a bad day, everything that like you telling yourself this, so you're thinking this, which means your actions follow your thoughts. So if your actions follow your thoughts and you think that it's going to be a bad day, then you're not going to be interested in anything good, or you're not going to allow anything good to come in. So if the sun peek out a little bit, because you think the rain is what's causing your dreariness, the only thing that could change your mood is seeing the sun. What if the sun don't never come out? So the only way you can get out of that is to be like, it's rainy today, but I'm gonna make the best of it.
Right,
like you don't have to
get my umbrella, my boots.
Right.
I'm just about that.
Exactly.
Singing in the rain, like having a good time.
You have to speak life into yourself. You have to speak it into yourself. Like if you wake up and you tell yourself because it's raining, but it's that's a whole nother thing, like psychology and the rain, all that stuff, because it do make your mood go down. But if you can master the communication that you have with yourself, you can get yourself out of that, because the way that you speak to yourself is the way that you think about yourself, and the things that you think is the way that you act. So you're not going to allow anything in telling yourself that you're having a bad day. Like nothing positive is going to come in because you won't allow it to come in. You don't even want to see it. Like sometimes it will be something good sitting right in front of your face, and like you just can't accept it because you're stuck in this mood. And it's like, okay, well, I could have had a good day, but you're in control of your day. Like in reality, somebody can mess it up for a second, but it's up to you to let it stay all day. Like, are you going to tell yourself that this person ruined your whole day, or did this person come ruin a couple minutes and now it's time to get over it?
That's what I was thinking about, moment.
Yeah.
Capturing the moments. Don't consider the whole day. Just capture the moments.
Right.
And take these bits and pieces, these happy moments, and then create life out of that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It really boils down to communication. Like that's what I was getting at. Like period. Assumptions and communication go hand in hand. when people hear communication, they usually think about more than one person. They usually think about talking to somebody else, but like, you communicate with yourself the most all day, every day. Your thoughts that's going through your mind, like, you have to be in control of the things that's going through your mind. Like, if you are not, I always, if I'm assuming something, like, I will say it out loud, like, oh, I'm assuming right now, or I just assume, like, it naturally comes now. It's like every time I make an assumption, I tell myself that I just made an assumption. Like, it just happens like that. But that's what happens when you get used to communicating with yourself in that kind of way. Like, you can acknowledge the way that you speak, and then you can be more mindful of the things that you say. Then you can be more mindful of the way that you think, and then you can be more mindful of the way that you act. And then, like,
respond too.
Exactly. But yeah, assumptions. This is supposed to be an eating show, and I need to learn how to talk and eat. You saw that, I know. But yeah, y'all, my food, I'm eating. But it's tired. We always do this so late. Anyway. So this food, how did I make this food? Now that we done talked a little bit about assumptions. I made these ribs in the oven. They took 2 hours. They're tender. You think they're tender?
I do.
Yeah. I like when they are like this. Like, I like when you can hold it, but like when you bite it, your teeth still just like go right through it. Y'all can't tell me nothing. Anyways, so the macaroni and cheese did come from a box, but that's because I like the way Velveeta tastes with ribs, like, truthfully. And I wasn't making no...
What's the real reason?
No, that's the real reason. Okay, it's 2 real reasons. Because I was not making no baked macaroni and cheese today.
So what's
like,
the other reason?
I don't know.
You like fake macaroni and cheese?
I do. I really love fake macaroni and cheese. I don't know why. It's something about fake macaroni and cheese. But I like Velveeta with barbecue sauce for some reason. Like, ribs and Velveeta they just go together to me for some reason. I think because my father made barbecue chicken with this when we was growing up. He made it a lot. And so I like it.
Go-to for every meal, right?
Yeah. So it's just like
it
nostalgia.
It became expensive.
What?
This.
Velveeta?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't used to be like
gourmet and shit at some point.
First of all, Velveeta always been gourmet. Like, when my father was buying this, we got like the cheese and shells from like Walmart or Aldi's or something. But it was
that's the name of it?
I guess.
Cheese and
I don't
shells?
know what it was called. It wasn't Velveeta. It wasn't no yellow box. That box was blue, but it wasn't Kraft.
I know what you're talking about.
So, yeah. But, yes, I made these. The cabbage, I'd say the cabbage in total probably took like 40 minutes. 40 minutes. It take like 2 processes. Well, I do like 2 10-15 minute processes because we had a lot of cabbage. And my pot wasn't as big. The pot that I used wasn't that big. So I had to like let it wilt and then do it again. And then we had to do the seasoning part. And then you had to do it again so the seasonings could marinate with the heat. And that took like 40 minutes. The macaroni and cheese took like 10 minutes. And then I told him take it off the stove.
My fault. No, you told me to stir.
I told him to stir it, and he did not take it.
No.
Don't you do that.
Oh, don't show you the message? All right. The message says, stir the pasta noodles, please. That's exactly what I did.
But if the beep go off, and I
thought it was stir the cabbage. I don't know.
He thought the beep meant to stir. Like, if I text you and tell you to stir.
I stirred. I
All
did
right,
exactly
right.
what
But
the
I wasn't mad at
instructions
him because I would have been assuming that he knew what the beep meant. See? Anyways, I'm going to get better at eating my food more. Because, honey. But we talk about assumptions. I hope y'all understand that assumptions is not the key. Like, don't think that you know everything. Don't be so self-focused. And a lot of us have done it for a long time. But now you know that it's just not the right way to go in a lot of situations. Like, intuition and assumption, please know the difference. If you feel like you're in danger or some crazy mess, like, follow your gut. But, like, don't assume because somebody got a hood on that you about to get shot. You have to know the difference between that gut feeling. What?
don't know if this is for the camera, but like I always know when I'm about to get robbed.
No, it's not for the camera. We can talk about that in another time.
And it's not an assumption. Like,
how is it not an assumption?
like
It's a gut feeling.
Yes.
And you've gotten robbed every time you felt like you have gotten robbed.
I haven't gotten robbed, but
Then I guess you were.
But hold
assuming.
on, no. But the act happened. So like they'll come up to me like, give me your shit, and I just like run or some shit like that. But go ahead.
That's that might be a gut feeling. That might be, I don't know. I got to do some more research.
Because of what you said about intuition.
Intuition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So they kind of similar. We know it as that gut feeling, like when you know type of situation, versus the assumption where it's like you already accept something to be true, or you this is going to happen. It's no proof behind it. There's no factual evidence behind it, but you just assume that something is going to happen even when it never happens, or if it ends up not happening. But that's the difference. Intuition sometimes, like,
a lot of, for me, it always comes with the relationship, but in life generally, like I don't assume a lot of things. I'm real optimistic about life, but when it comes to like things that may happen in my relationship is when I do a lot of assuming.
So would you be assuming?
That you're going to respond a certain way to a certain, like whatever I say, or if I want to have a conversation with you, or if I'm nervous about talking to you about something, I'm going to assume that you're going to take it negatively. That type of stuff. But like when it comes to life, I don't be like, oh, it's raining. Well, I don't know. It's just a stigma around, like, and I say rain because it's raining today, so that's why I keep making the rain correlation. Yeah.
So your assumptions are like situational.
Right.
You don't always assume, because there's people who assume all the freaking time, and they think they know everything, and they think they always right, and you can't tell them nothing else. But you are more so like
if I go to work, I'm like, yo, I'm assuming that I might have a bad day. It's like, even if it does be a bad day, like I'm gonna make the best out of it.
Right. Exactly. Because you communicate with yourself in that way. Because if you at work, and you keep telling yourself that the day gonna be like this. Like who wants to and who wants to be at work mad as heck? Like nobody want to be doing all that. So then you shift your way of thinking. You like, all right, it's not that bad. It's not. And those things, like when you change in the way that you think, don't make no drastic change. Like if you're used to assuming all the time, or if you're used to telling yourself that you're gonna have a bad day, do not think that telling yourself like today's gonna be a good day. Like, no, that's not going to work. Like, that's literally not going to work, because you're going to be annoyed and you're going to be trying to force something that's just not going to happen. But what you can do is be like, today not going to be as bad as yesterday. Or I'm going to do something today that makes me feel a little bit better. Like, you got to take baby steps towards the changes in your life that you've been so used to living in for so long. So,
holding on to those moments, those good moments.
Exactly. And it's not easy. It doesn't come overnight, but like it takes those little things. Like the more that you tell yourself, like, all right, I'm gonna try to have a good day. And sometimes you don't even want to use the word try. You want to say, I'm going to have a good day today. If you're used to saying I'm gonna have a bad day, say I'm going to have a better day. Like my day is gonna be better. Like say things like that. Speak it. Don't try, because you already putting some type of stop on it. Like just say I'm going to have a better day.
Can control.
Right.
So if I can change the outcome of something and make it better for me, like, yeah. So I know that if I speak to someone and that'll change the way that we interact, it's like, all right, why not speak? Just don't assume that somebody has an attitude. Like the girl we saw crossing the street, we assume that she had an attitude. But like,
no. I get what you're saying. I was
if we
literally
went to go
going to bring
speak
this
to her,
up.
she might have like, hey, how you doing, or whatever. Like it may have been a
whole
response.
different thing. And so I actually had to tell him.
He
started dying laughing at this girl crossing the street because she just looked mad. But it's funny because the whole setting was just funny. So like we on a college campus, she walking down the street, and we just like, oh, she going to class. Like, yeah, she mad. I'd be mad too if I was going to class.
Right.
But in all reality, that girl could have been excited to be going to her class. She could just be chilling. She could have had a resting bitch face. Like, you never know what the heck. And it's a whole assumption to just assume. It's a whole projection sometimes. It's not always a projection. But like, Well, it could be because typically if you mad, you will walk down the street looking the way you looking. So it's a projection of how you would act onto her. Because that's just what you know. It's like you assuming what you know. But like that happens a lot. So with people, it's like they can look at you a certain way. Even when people respond to you in a certain way, you just assume like, oh no, she's rude. But what if she's just having a bad day that day?
Oh yeah, I'll be always called. People always call me rude.
Why people call you rude?
I'm just misunderstood.
That's a whole different conversation situation. Like, dang, that's no, yeah. But anyway, yeah, somebody could yell at somebody. This could be your first impression of somebody. They could be rude. They could come off a certain way, and like that day you leave assuming like, yo, this person is rude. This person is this. Instead of actually saying like, oh, the way they acted today, and you say this because like, okay, it's your first time meeting this person, and then you just wouldn't like them or you'd be rubbed the wrong way because it's your first impression. But you say you come in the next day and you have an encounter with the same person, you're a bit standoffish because the way they act yesterday, but they're in a completely different mood. And so then you realize that you made this assumption about somebody, and then they may explain to you if you ask them, right? So it's like, well, this is where it all comes down to communication. Because if you truly don't like the way that somebody treated you, say if it's a high and vibe with this person, just let them go. Like you can't control how somebody acts towards you. But if it's somebody that you got to work with on a daily basis or you see all the time, you got to get along with them. Ask them why they treated you that way, and that communication will break down that assumption right there. It's either you assume right or you assume wrong. Like, yeah, this person is an asshole because they still acting this way, or this person is gonna tell you like, I was having a bad day, I'm sorry, da 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 da. And then you realize that you made a negative and incorrect assumption about somebody. And when in all reality, you just communicate. You can have that thought in your mind. You could still be standoffish, but I would tweak it. Like I would still be like, I didn't like the way she act. I didn't like the way because it's just all it is their actions anyway. I'm sure that most people don't act the same way toward one person that they act toward everybody. So if you go ask several different people, you're not going to get the same response that person is rude. Like, no, this is your assumption of them, or this is what your interaction with them was like. But it could be based on just what they're going through that day. So you want to take their actions, separate the action from the person, and always just look at the action for what it is. And it's like, I don't like the way that person acted. Instead of assuming that person is in a whole is a bad person, is a negative person, or is a rude person. Because that's an assumption, a negative assumption. And then you'll make yourself feel like you start questioning yourself, like, what the heck did I do? Or you start questioning that person in a negative way. And you'll put a whole lot of negative emotions onto that person when in reality, it just ain't like that. But yes, so that's all we had to say about assumptions. We're tired. It's late, very late. If you want the recipe to anything that I made, even a Velveeta, just send you the box. If you want the recipe to anything, leave your email or DM me on Instagram. My Instagram is WiseGirlSpeaks. And my email is WiseGirl.Speaks0503@gmail.com. So if you want the recipe, just send me an email on Instagram or through my email. And then So if you're interested in the recipe to the ribs, to the cabbage, or the whole meal as a whole, I do have a macaroni and cheese recipe. So if you want a whole recipe, send me your email to my email or to my Instagram DM, and then we'll get you the recipe. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to see y'all next Saturday again for our 3rd episode.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.